In the crystalline city of Neo-Alexandria, Alex Rivera stared out through the transparent dome of his habitat, watching as Isolarian ships drifted silently across the twilight sky. Their sleek organic forms resembled nothing so much as giant manta rays, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing in hypnotic rhythms. "Beautiful, aren't they?" Jordan Kim said, joining Alex at the observation window. Jordan's face, reflected in the transparent material, showed the same mix of awe and unease that Alex felt. "Too beautiful," Alex replied, turning away from the window. "Like a venomous snake," Jordan laughed. But the sound was hollow. "Careful with that kind of talk. The Guardians don't appreciate metaphors that cast them in a negative light." Alex's eyes hardened. "The Guardians. That's what they call themselves now. As if we're children who need protection. Or pets who need owners," Jordan muttered, then quickly looked around as if the walls themselves might be listening. The truth of Jordan's words hung between them, unsaid but understood. Humans lived in comfort, yes, but also in confinement. Each city was a habitat, each habitat a carefully controlled environment. The Exolarians provided everything: food, shelter, entertainment, but they also controlled everything. "We should be grateful," Taylor Brooks said, approaching from behind. Taylor had always been the pragmatist, the one who accepted their reality without question. "Before they came, we were destroying ourselves. Now we have peace." "Peace?" Alex turned to face Taylor, his voice rising. "Is that what you call this? We're zoo exhibits, Taylor? Decorative pets for our alien masters?" "That's enough," Taylor hissed, glancing nervously at the ceiling where he knew monitoring devices were hidden. "You'll bring trouble to us all." Alex opened his mouth to retort. But before he could speak, the familiar melodic chime that signaled the Axolarian daily address filled the air. All conversation ceased as the citizens of Neo-Alexandria turned their attention to the central holographic display that materialized in the city square. The form of Exolarth, High Guardian of Earth's sector, shimmered into existence. Tall and slender, with skin that shifted through iridescent colors and large liquid eyes that seemed to see everything and nothing at once. Exolarth was the very image of an enlightened being. "My dear human companions," Exolarth's voice resonated, not through sound waves but directly in their minds, a smooth, soothing tenor that calmed even as it commanded. "Another day of harmony approaches. Your continued cooperation brings joy to our collective consciousness." Exolarth continued his address, praising humanity's docile nature and adaptability to proper care. Alex felt a surge of anger. The language was subtle, but the meaning was clear. They weren't companions. They were possessions. "We are pleased to announce the upcoming selection," Exolarth continued, and a ripple of excitement went through the crowd. 50 of your finest specimens will be chosen to accompany us to the homeworld, where they will be showcased as examples of proper human development. The crowd cheered, but Alex felt sick. The selection happened once a decade, and those chosen never returned. Officially, they were honored guests. Unofficially, well, no one knew for sure. But Alex had his suspicion. "I'll be applying," Taylor said, eyes gleaming with ambition. "Imagine it, seeing the stars, visiting another world, or never seeing Earth again," Alex countered. But Taylor had already drifted away, caught up in the general enthusiasm. Jordan touched Alex's arm. "Don't say things like that. You know how people feel about the selection. How they feel or how they're supposed to feel." Alex shook his head. "There's a difference." As the holographic display faded and the crowd dispersed, Alex noticed something unusual. A small group of Zolarians, their forms less ornate than Zolarth's, were gathering near the habitat's edge. They were moving with purpose, their large eyes scanning the humans as if selecting livestock. "Jordan, look," Alex pointed, but Jordan had already turned away, not wanting to be seen associating with someone who questioned the Exolarians too openly. Alex watched as the aliens approached a group of children playing in the central plaza. One of the Exolarians extended a slender, multi-jointed limb toward a young girl who had fallen and scraped her knee. The alien's touch was gentle, almost loving. As it healed the wound with a soft glow of light, the child giggled, reaching up to pat the alien's smooth skin. The crowd cooed at the touching scene, but Alex felt a chill. The gesture wasn't one of kindness. It was one of ownership, like a farmer tending to a valuable animal. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He lay in his assigned quarters, staring at the ceiling, the Auxiliarian's words echoing in his mind. Proper human development. What did that even mean? Were they being bred? Modified? He slipped out of bed and made his way to the restricted archives. As a historical researcher, Alex had limited access, but he hoped it would be enough. The archives were housed in the oldest part of the habitat, a section that predated the Auxiliarian arrival but had since been updated with their technology. The corridors were silent, illuminated only by the soft glow of emergency lighting. Alex's footsteps seemed unnaturally loud in the stillness. He reached the archive entrance and placed his hand on the biometric scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the air was cool and carried the scent of old paper and preservation chemicals. A rare combination in the mostly digital world of the habitats. Alex made his way to the terminal, his heart pounding. If he was caught, the consequences would be severe. The Auxiliarians didn't punish harshly. They simply re-educated those who stepped out of line. But those who returned from re-education were never quite the same. He typed in his search query, pre-arrival human independence movements. The screen flickered, and a list of documents appeared. Most were heavily redacted, but Alex noticed something odd. A file that shouldn't have been accessible to someone with his clearance level. Project Chimera, it was titled, dated just before the Auxiliarian arrival. Alex's fingers trembled as he opened the file. What he read made his blood run cold. It wasn't about human independence movements at all. It was about a secret military project designed to create enhanced soldiers, humans with increased strength, intelligence, and resilience. But the project had been shut down just before the Auxiliarians arrived. Or so it was claimed. As Alex read deeper, he discovered something even more disturbing. The Auxiliarians hadn't just arrived by chance. They had been invited by whom the document didn't say, but it hinted at a secret faction within Earth's governments that had sold out humanity in exchange for what? Safety, prosperity. The most chilling part was a series of attachments, transcripts of initial communications between the Iwanians and human representatives. In these documents, the Iwanians were brutally honest about their intentions. They saw humans as promising specimens that needed proper guidance and development. They referred to Earth as a preserve and humans as fauna. Alex copied the files to a data chip, his hands shaking. As he was about to log off, an alert flashed on the screen. Unauthorized access detected. Security would be there any minute. He pocketed the chip and slipped out of the archives just as two Auxiliarian guardians rounded the corner. Alex flattened himself against the wall, holding his breath. The aliens' large eyes swept past him, their forms casting elongated shadows in the dim light. Once they had passed, Alex moved quickly but silently through the corridors, his mind racing. What he had discovered changed everything. The Auxiliarians weren't benevolent guardians, they were colonizers who had perfected the art of conquest through kindness. As he approached his quarters, Alex noticed that the door was ajar. His heart skipped a beat. He never left his door open. Cautiously, he pushed it wider and stepped inside. The room was in disarray, his belongings strewn about. Standing in the center of the room was a Auxiliarian, but not one he recognized. This one was smaller, with darker coloration and eyes that held an unnerving intelligence. Alex Rivera. The Auxiliarian communicated directly to his mind. Its mental voice different from the smooth, soothing tones of Auxiliarth. This one was sharper, more precise. We have been observing you for some time. Alex's hand instinctively went to the data chip in his pocket. I don't know what you're talking about. The Auxiliarian tilted its head, a gesture Alex had come to recognize as amusement. Your curiosity is unusual. Most humans are content with their existence. But you question. You seek answers that are not meant for you. What do you want? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The same thing you want, Alex Rivera. The truth. The truth. The Auxiliarian extended a limb, not to touch him, but to offer him something. A small, metallic object that fit in the palm of his hand. You think you understand our relationship with your species, but you only see part of the picture. Alex looked from the object to the Auxiliarian's inscrutable face. What is this? A key. To understanding. To freedom. The Auxiliarian's mental voice dropped to a whisper. But know this, the truth you seek may be more terrible than the lies you currently aware. Not all humans want freedom. Some prefer their cages. Before Alex could respond, the Auxiliarian dissolved into a shimmer of light, leaving him alone with the mysterious object and the data chip that contained secrets that could change everything. As dawn broke over Neo-Alexandria, Alex stood at his window once again, watching the Auxiliarian ships drift across the sky. But now he saw them differently, not as saviors or even masters, but as something else entirely. The object in his hand grew warm, and for the first time since the Auxiliarians had arrived, Alex Rivera felt a glimmer of hope, or perhaps it was the prelude to something far more dangerous. The metallic object in Alex's hand pulsed with an inner light, casting eerie shadows across his face. He had spent the entire night examining it, turning it over and over, trying to understand its purpose. Now, as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the dome of Neo-Alexandria, he made his decision. He needed allies: Jordan, Taylor, Morgan, Riley. Alex's voice was low but urgent as he gathered his closest friends in the secluded corner of the habitat's botanical gardens. I need to show you something. The gardens were a place of tranquility, filled with earth plants that the Auxiliarians had preserved for the comfort and well-being of their human companions. It was the least monitored area of the habitat, a fact Alex had discovered during his research. Jordan Kim looked nervous, constantly glancing around as if expecting Auxiliarian guardians to materialize from among the ferns. Taylor Brooks wore an expression of patient tolerance, as if humoring a friend who had lost touch with reality. Morgan Chen, a bioengineer, regarded Alex with scientific curiosity, while Riley Jones, a former security officer before the Auxiliarians had restructured human law enforcement, watched with narrowed eyes. I know this sounds crazy, Alex began, but the Auxiliarians aren't what they seem. Taylor sighed. Not this again, Alex. We've been over this. The Auxiliarians saved us from ourselves. Did they? Alex retorted, pulling out the data chip. Or did they just trade one form of destruction for another? He inserted the chip into a portable reader he had brought, and the documents from Project Chimera appeared on the small screen. As his friends read, their expressions changed from skepticism to shock, then to dawning horror. My God, Morgan whispered, scrolling through the transcripts. They've been planning this for decades, and our own governments helped them. Riley's face hardened. This explains so much. The disappearances, the re-education camps, the selection. Jordan looked pale. We need to destroy this evidence. If the Auxiliarians find out, they already know, Alex said, showing them the metallic object. One of them gave this to me last night. Said it was a key to understanding and freedom. Morgan examined the object, running a scanner over it. It's emitting a low-frequency signal, not Auxiliarian technology, at least not the standard kind. And it's biological, partially alive. As Morgan spoke, the object began to glow more brightly, projecting a holographic image into the air between them. It was a map showing the network of his Auxiliarian facilities across Earth, with several locations highlighted in red. These are research facilities. The mysterious Auxiliarian's voice echoed in their minds, though the alien itself was nowhere to be seen. Where humans are, studied, modified, enhanced. The hologram shifted, showing images of humans undergoing various procedures, their bodies changing in subtle and not-so-subtle ways. Some developed increased strength, others heightened intelligence. Still others the ability to interface directly with Auxiliarian technology. Project Chimera never ended. Alex realized, his voice filled with horror, that Auxiliarians just took it over. Why? Taylor asked, his earlier skepticism replaced with dawning understanding. What are they doing to us? The holographic image changed again, this time showing a vast space battle. Auxiliarian ships, larger and more menacing than the ones in Earth's orbit, were fighting against an equally formidable foe. Both sides were suffering heavy losses. The Auxiliarians are at war, the mysterious voice explained. A war they are losing. They need soldiers, but their own species is delicate, refined, incapable of the savagery required for victory. Morgan gasped. They're turning us into weapons. Not just weapons, the voice corrected. Pets, toys, instruments of destruction they can control and discard when no longer needed. But they made a mistake. The hologram shifted once more, showing the Asolarian home world, a planet of stunning beauty, with crystalline structures that seemed to grow from the ground like trees. But something was wrong. Large sections of the planet were barren, lifeless. Their world is dying, Riley deduced, and they can't fix it themselves. They need something more than soldiers, Alex realized. They need resilience, adaptability, the very qualities that made humanity so problematic before they arrived. The 5 humans stood in stunned silence as the implications of what they had learned sank in. The Trellarians hadn't saved humanity. They had domesticated it, planning to unleash it as a weapon in a war humans knew nothing about. We have to tell people, Jordan said, though his voice trembled with fear. How? Taylor countered. That Zillarians control all communication. We'd be captured before we could reach a dozen people. Then we don't use their systems, Riley suggested, pointing to the metallic object. Whatever this is, it's not standard Exolarian tech. Maybe we can use it to create our own network. As they discussed their options, the hologram flickered and changed again. This time it showed a timeline, with a specific date highlighted. The next selection, the mysterious voice explained. It's not an honor, it's a culling. The most enhanced humans will be taken to serve as soldiers in the Exolarian War. The rest will be eliminated. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Eliminated how? The hologram showed Earth with Exolarian ships in orbit. One by one they fired on the planet not with destructive weapons but with something else. A beam that left no visible damage but sterilized everything it touched. A biological agent, Morgan identified with horror. One that targets unmodified human DNA. They're planning to replace us entirely, Taylor whispered. Create a new version of humanity that serves their purposes. We can't let that happen, Riley declared, their expression hardening with resolve. We need to fight back. But how? Jordan asked, his fear palpable. They're so advanced, we're like insects to them. Insects can be dangerous when they swarm, Alex said, his mind already racing with possibilities. We need allies, other humans who know the truth, and we need to understand this technology. He gestured to the metallic object, which had ceased projecting images but continued to pulse with a soft light. The mysterious Idzalarian's voice spoke again, but this time it was different, fainter, as if coming from a great distance. Time is running out. The Guardians grow suspicious. Trust no one who has been re-educated. They are no longer fully human. With that, the communications ceased, leaving the 5 humans alone with their terrifying knowledge and the weight of a world on their shoulders. We need to split up, Alex decided. Morgan, you and Riley try to understand this technology. See if we can use it to communicate without the Exolarians detecting us. Jordan, Taylor, and I will try to find other humans who might be receptive to the truth. We meet back here in 3 days. As they dispersed, each carrying the burden of what they had learned, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The gardens, usually a place of peace, now seemed menacing, filled with unseen eyes. He was right. High above Earth, on the command deck of the Solarian flagship, Solarith watched the feeds from the monitoring devices in Neo-Alexandria. The metallic object given to Alex Rivera had been a test, one that the human had passed. The subjects are reacting as predicted. Akosaklith communicated to its superior, whose form was shrouded in shadows even in the brightly lit command center. The resistance is forming. Excellent, the superior responded, its mental voice colder and more ancient than Shilarth's. The first wave of enhancements is ready. Proceed with the selection as planned, but ensure that Rivera and his associates are chosen. They will make excellent commanders for our new army. And the biological agent? Exolarth asked. Deploy it as scheduled. The remaining human population has served its purpose. Their biological material will be useful for creating the next generation of enhanced soldiers. Nyolarth inclined its head in agreement, though internally, It felt a flicker of something that resembled doubt. The humans had proven more resourceful than anticipated, more resilient, perhaps too much so. But orders were orders. The survival of the Castellarian species depended on the success of their plan. Humanity's fate had been sealed the moment their own leaders had invited the Castellarians to Earth. In the days that followed, Alex and his friends worked in secret, using the metallic object to shield their communications from Solarian monitoring. Morgan and Riley discovered that the object was not Solarian technology at all, but something far more advanced created by a race that had been subjugated by the Solarians centuries ago. They left this as a trap, Morgan explained during one of their secret meetings. A way to communicate with potential allies across the galaxy. The Galarians don't know about it, or if they do, they don't understand how it works. Meanwhile, Alex, Jordan, and Taylor had identified other humans who might be receptive to their message. People who had shown signs of questioning the Zilarian rule, who had lost loved ones to re-education or the selection. It was dangerous work. One wrong word, one suspicious glance, could mean capture and worse. But they were making progress. Slowly, a network of resistance was forming, hidden beneath the veneer of human contentment. The day of the selection arrived with a festive atmosphere. Humans gathered in the central plazas of their habitats, dressed in their finest clothes, eager for the chance to be chosen. Among them, Alex and his friends moved with feigned enthusiasm, their hearts heavy with the knowledge of what the selection truly meant. As Aquilarth appeared in holographic form to announce the beginning of the selection, Alex felt the metallic object in his pocket grow warm. Morgan and Riley had managed to modify it, turning it into a device that could temporarily disrupt Aquilarian control systems. Now Morgan communicated through the device, their voice a whisper in Alex's mind. During the selection, when their systems are focused on the process, Alex nodded almost imperceptibly, catching Riley's eye across the crowded plaza. Riley gave a subtle signal, indicating that their small team of saboteurs was in position. The first chosen is... The Zalath began, its voice resonating through the plaza. A beam of light scanned the crowd, stopping on a young woman who cried out with joy. As the Axelarian guardians moved to escort the chosen woman away, Alex gave the signal. Now, simultaneously at key points across the habitat, Riley's team activated modified versions of the metallic object. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Axelarian control systems flickered and failed. Chaos erupted as humans, freed from the subtle mental influence that kept them docile, suddenly realized their true situation. Some panicked, others grew angry, and a few, those who had been recruited by Alex's resistance, sprang into action. What is happening? Aquilarth's voice boomed, no longer smooth and soothing but sharp with alarm. Guardians, restore order. But it was too late. The resistance had planned this moment carefully, using the brief window of confusion to broadcast the truth about the Axelarians to every habitat on Earth. The evidence from Project Chimera, the plans for the biological agent, the reality of the selection, all of it was now public knowledge. The reaction was immediate and violent. Humans, realizing they had been lied to for decades, turned on their ex-Belarian benefactors. The Guardians, caught off guard and temporarily cut off from their command structure, were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. In the chaos, Alex and his core team made their way to the habitat's control center. If they could seize control of the communications systems, they could coordinate a planet-wide resistance. We have to hurry, Jordan urged as they navigated through the corridors filled with panicked humans and battling Xylarians. Their systems will be back online soon. As they approached the control center, they were intercepted by a group of guardians led by none other than Seedlarth itself, who had transported directly to their location. Alex Rivera, Seedlarth communicated directly to Alex's mind, its mental voice filled with something that resembled disappointment. I had such high hopes for you. You were supposed to lead our armies, not this rabble. We're not your pets or your toys, Alex shot back, raising a weapon they had modified from Axelarian technology. We're human and we're free. Seedlarth's form shimmered, its colors shifting from calm blue to angry red. Freedom is an illusion, a luxury you cannot afford. The universe is a dangerous place, and without our guidance, humanity will destroy itself. Better to die free than live as a slave, Taylor declared, stepping forward to stand beside Alex. The standoff was interrupted by an alarm. The Excelarian systems were coming back online. They had only moments to act. Alex, the control center, Morgan urged, pointing down a side corridor. As one, the resistance members bolted for the control center, with Salarian guardians in pursuit. They reached the door just as it was beginning to close, sliding through in the nick of time. Inside, they found not human operators, but more Xylarians, who reacted with surprise at the intrusion. A brief but intense battle ensued, with the resistance members using their modified weapons to disable the Xylarians. "We have control," Riley announced, taking position at the main console. "But not for long. They're already trying to break through our defenses." "Broadcast this," Alex said, inserting the data chip with the Project Chimera files. "Send it to every human habitat and every resistance cell we've identified." As the files began to transmit, the control center shook violently. The Excelarians were trying to force their way in, using weapons that would have destroyed the facility if not for the resistance modifications to the structural integrity fields. "We can't hold them," Jordan said, watching as the door began to buckle under the assault. "We don't have to," Alex replied, a grim determination in his eyes. "We just need to buy enough time for the transmission to complete and for the resistance to organize." The metallic object in his pocket began to pulse more rapidly, and Morgan's eyes widened in realization. "It's not just a communication device, it's a key to something bigger." "What do you mean?" Alex asked, even as he helped reinforce the door controls. "I don't know," Morgan admitted, "but there's a signal coming through. Someone is trying to reach us." Before they could investigate further, the door finally gave way and Xylarian guardians poured into the control center. The resistance members fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Just as all seemed lost, a new sound filled the air, a high-pitched whine that grew in intensity until it was unbearable. The Excelarians recoiled, their forms wavering as if in pain. Through the breached door, a new figure appeared. Not Verclarian, not Humanotus Ashilan, but something else entirely. Tall and slender, with skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and eyes that burned with ancient intelligence. "The Excelarians are not the only ones who have been watching humanity," the newcomer communicated, its voice neither in their minds nor through the air, but somehow both. "I am Zorvath of the Vralox Federation, and I offer you an alliance." The Excelarians froze, their forms stiffening with recognition and fear. "The Vralox were thought to be extinct," Excelarth communicated, its mental voice filled with disbelief. Zorvath turned its burning eyes toward Zelarth, a misconception we encouraged. "It allowed us to watch your activities without interference. But your treatment of humanity violates the Galactic Concordance, and we can no longer stand by." As Zorvath spoke, more Vralox appeared behind it, their forms shifting and changing as if reality itself bent around them. The Tellurian guardians, suddenly facing a far more formidable foe, began to retreat. "The transmission is complete," Riley announced, turning from the console. "The truth is out. Humans across the planet are rising up." Alex looked from Zorvath to the retreating Xylarians, then to his friends who had risked everything for freedom. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. "The Excelarians won't give up easily," Zorvath warned, as if reading Alex's thoughts. "They are desperate, and desperate beings are capable of terrible things." As if to emphasize Zorvath's words, an alarm blared through the control center. On the main screen, which Riley had managed to keep operational, they saw a fleet of Zeplarian ships gathering in orbit around Earth. "They're preparing to deploy the biological agent," Morgan said, horror dawning in their voice. "Ahead of schedule." "We can't let that happen," Alex declared, turning to Zorvath. "You said you offer an alliance. What does that mean?" Zorvath's form seemed to solidify, becoming more defined. "It means we will stand with you against the Excelarians. But know this, the Vralox do not intervene lightly. Our help comes at a price." "Anything?" Alex said without hesitation. "Careful," Zorvath warned, its burning eyes seeming to look directly into Alex's soul. "Bargains with cosmic entities often have unforeseen consequences." Before Alex could respond, the control center shook again, more violently this time. On the screen, they watched in horror as the Exilarian ships in orbit began to change configuration, transforming from their peaceful manta ray-like forms to something menacing weapons ports opening along their hulls. They're not just deploying the biological agent, Riley realized. Their voice filled with dread. They're going to destroy the planet. The Exilarian fleet hung in orbit like a swarm of angry hornets, their peaceful forms now revealed as something far more sinister. Weapons ports yawned open along their hulls, glowing with the energy that would soon be unleashed upon Earth. "They can't do this," Jordan whispered, his face pale with shock as he stared at the main screen. "They need humans for their war." "Perhaps they've decided we're more trouble than we're worth," Taylor suggested grimly. Zorvak's form shifted, its light-absorbing skin seeming to deepen in color. "The Xilarians are nothing if not pragmatic. If they cannot control humanity, they will eliminate it. A dead planet is preferable to one that harbors resistance. We have to stop them," Alex declared, his voice filled with determination despite the hopelessness of their situation. "How?" Morgan asked, gesturing to the screen where the Exilarian fleet continued to power up its weapons. "Even with your help," they added, turning to Zorvath. "We're outnumbered and outgunned." Zorvath's burning eyes seemed to look beyond the screen into the depths of space. "The Vridelics have remained hidden for a reason. Our technology is advanced, but our numbers are few. A direct confrontation with the Exilarian fleet would be costly." "But you're not alone anymore," Alex said, a new idea forming in his mind. "You have us." "Humanity has been domesticated for decades," Zorvath countered. "Your weapons are primitive, your forces scattered. But we're resilient," Alex insisted. "Adaptable, and we have something the Exilarians never counted on." As he spoke, the metallic object in his pocket began to pulse more rapidly, emitting a soft glow that seemed to resonate with something deep within Alex. Morgan noticed and approached, scanner in hand. "It's responding to you," Morgan said, their eyes widening with realization. "Not just to your presence, but to something inside you." The enhancements, Alex realized, thinking back to the files from Project Chimera. Some humans have been modified, even if we don't know it. The Exilarians have been experimenting on us for decades. Zorvak turned its full attention to Alex, its burning eyes seeming to peer into his very essence. "Fascinating." The seeming to peer into his very essence. It's fascinating. The Simuarians always were too clever for their own good. In attempting to create the perfect soldiers, they may have inadvertently created their own undoing. As if in response to Zorvath's words, the metallic object projected a new holographic image. This one showing a network of energy connecting humans across the planet with Alex at its center. Some connections were stronger than others, but they were all there, a web of potential power. "The resistance," Riley breathed, understanding dawning in their eyes. "It's not just about information. It's about something more." "Telepathy," Zorvath explained. "Latent in some humans, enhanced in others. The Xilarians have been trying to unlock it for decades, to create a hive mind they could control. But they never considered what might happen if that hive mind developed its own consciousness." On the screen, the Exilarian fleet had finished powering up its weapons. The countdown to Earth's destruction had begun. "We don't have time to figure this out," Taylor said, his voice tight with urgency. "Then we'll make time," Alex declared, reaching out and touching the holographic network. As his fingers made contact, energy surged through him, and suddenly he could feel them, all the enhanced humans across the planet. Their fear, their anger, their determination to survive. He focused this energy, amplifying it through the metallic object, which began to glow brighter and brighter until it was almost too painful to look at. The control center filled with a strange humming sound, and the very air seemed to vibrate with power. "What's happening?" Jordan asked, stumbling back as the intensity of the moment overwhelmed him. "Alex is connecting them," Morgan explained, their scanner going wild with readings. "All the enhanced humans. He's creating a network, a collective consciousness that the Exilarians can't control." In orbit, the Exilarian fleet hesitated. The countdown had stopped, their weapons systems mysteriously failing. On the bridge of the flagship, Axelar and its superior watched in disbelief as their technology went haywire. "Report," the superior demanded, its mental voice sharp with alarm. "Our systems are being overridden," a guardian responded, its form flickering with confusion. "Not by Vrelok's technology. Something else. Something human." Back on Earth, Alex's eyes had taken on a strange glow, matching the light emanating from the metallic object. He was no longer just Alex Rivera, historical researcher and reluctant resistance leader. He was something more, a conduit for the collective consciousness of humanity. "The network is stable," Morgan announced, monitoring the readings. "But I don't know how long Alex can maintain it. The energy output is incredible." "We don't need long," Alex said, though his voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We just need to show them that we're not their pets or their toys. We're human and we're not going away." With a thought, amplified through the network of enhanced humans, Alex reached out to the Jalarian fleet. Not with weapons, but with consciousness, he showed them humanity's history. Not just the violence and self-destruction they had used as justification for their intervention, but also the art, the music, the love, the sacrifice. He showed them the very things they had sought to eliminate in their quest to create the perfect soldiers. The response was immediate. The Secularian fleet, which had been poised to destroy Earth, began to retreat, not in defeat, but in confusion. Some ships even broke formation, their occupants seemingly lost in the shared experience. "What have you done?" Zorvath asked, its burning eyes wide with something that resembled awe. "I've reminded them of what they're trying to destroy." Alex replied, his voice gradually returning to normal as the network's energy subsided. "I've shown them that humanity isn't just a tool to be used in their war." In the sudden silence that followed, with the Exilarian fleet in retreat and Earth safe for the moment, the Resistance members and their Vrylok's allies had a chance to process what had happened. "The Exilarians won't stay away forever," Riley warned, ever the pragmatist. "They'll regroup, come back with reinforcements. Then we'll be ready," Alex declared, though he looked exhausted, the effort of maintaining the network having taken its toll. Zorvath approached Alex, its form seeming to bend light in unusual ways. "What you did today, it changes everything." The Vryloks have been observing the Exolarians for centuries, waiting for the right moment to intervene. "We never imagined that humanity itself would provide that moment. You said your help comes at a price." Alex remembered, his expression serious. "What is it?" Zorvath was silent for a moment, its burning eyes seeming to look into a future only it could see. "The Vryloks are a dying race. Our time in this universe is coming to an end. We need successors to carry on our knowledge, our purpose." "You want humanity to be those successors," Morgan realized. "Not all of humanity," Zorvath clarified. "Only those who are willing, who understand the responsibility that comes with such knowledge, the enhanced humans, like yourself. Alex, you have the potential to become something more than human, something Vraloks." The offer hung in the air, heavy with implications. To accept would mean transforming into something other than human, leaving behind everything they had ever known. To refuse would mean facing the Exilarians alone with only their limited technology and resources. "We need time to consider," Alex said finally, speaking for the group. "Time is a luxury we may not have," Zorvath warned, but it nodded in understanding. "Exilarians will return. When they do, humanity must be ready to make a choice." In the days that followed, Earth changed. With the truth about the Exilarians now common knowledge, the habitats were reorganized, no longer as gilded cages but as true communities. Humans began to rediscover their independence, their creativity, their very humanity. The enhanced humans, now aware of their abilities, began to develop them, with Alex as their reluctant leader. The network that had been forged in desperation became a tool for communication, cooperation, and defense. Morgan and Riley worked with the Vryloks to understand and replicate their technology, while Jordan and Taylor helped organize humanity's resources for the inevitable confrontation with the Xylurians. As for Alex, he found himself changing in ways he couldn't fully understand. The connection to the network of enhanced humans remained, a constant presence in his mind. Sometimes, in quiet moments, he could feel the consciousness of the Vrayloks reaching out to him, offering knowledge and power beyond human comprehension. 3 months after the selection, as humanity continued to rebuild and prepare, the Axiolarians returned. But this time, they were not alone. With them was a fleet the likes of which had never been seen. Ships so massive they blotted out the stars, weapons so powerful they could crack planets. "They've brought their main fleet," Zorvat communicated, its form tense with anticipation. "The fleet they use in their war against the Uthar." "The Yathar?" Alex asked, the name unfamiliar. "The Exilarians' ancient enemy," Zorvath explained. "A race as ruthless as the Exilarians are manipulative. Between them they have devastated countless worlds." As if in response to Zorvath's words, a new fleet appeared on the edge of the solar system, ships that were the opposite of the Exilarians' sleek, organic forms. These were angular, brutal, practical weapons of war that pulsed with red energy. "The Hildir have followed them," Riley realized, their voice filled with dread. "We're caught between two warring superpowers. Then we'll have to show them that humanity is not to be underestimated," Alex declared, his eyes beginning to glow with the same light they had emitted during the network connection. The Vrayloks ships, which had remained hidden until now, decloaked, their strange, reality-bending forms creating a protective barrier around Earth. Together with the human resistance, they formed a line of defense against the two approaching fleets. "It's time to make your choice, Alex Rivera," Zorvath communicated, its burning eyes fixed on him. "Become one with us, or face this battle as human." Alex looked at his friends, at the planet that had been humanity's home for millennia, at the stars that held both promise and peril. He thought of all that humanity had been, all that it was, and all that it could become. "I am human," Alex said, his voice clear and strong, "and I will face this battle as human. But that doesn't mean I can't learn from you." With those words, he reached out with his mind, not just to the network of enhanced humans but to the Vrayloks as well. He didn't seek to become one with them, but to understand them, to learn from them without losing himself in the process. The response was immediate. Knowledge flowed from the Vrayloks to Alex, ancient wisdom, advanced technology, cosmic insights that no human had ever possessed. But Alex filtered this knowledge through his human consciousness, adapting it, making it his own. Then he shared it with the network of enhanced humans, who in turn shared it with all of humanity. Not as a replacement for their humanity, but as an enhancement of it, a tool to be used, not a master to be served. As the two fleets approached Earth, they found not a helpless planet waiting to be conquered or destroyed, but a unified humanity standing ready to defend its home. With Vrayloks' technology adapted to human ingenuity, with enhanced abilities guided by human consciousness, humanity presented a new force in the galaxy, one that was neither Exilarian nor Shathar nor Vrayloks, but something entirely new. The battle that followed was unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity fought not with the ruthlessness of the Yathar or the manipulation of the Exilarians, but with a resilience and creativity that was uniquely human. They adapted, they learned, they evolved in the midst of combat, turning their enemies' strengths against them. Alex, as the focal point of the network, directed humanity's defense. His consciousness expanded but still fundamentally human. He fought not just for survival but for the right to determine humanity's own destiny. In the end, it was not military might that won the day, but something else entirely. As the battle raged, Alex reached out with the network once more, not just to the Exilarians and Yathar, but to all the races they had subjugated, all the worlds they had destroyed. He showed them an alternative to endless war, a possibility of coexistence and mutual growth. The response was unexpected. Ships from both fleets began to break formation, their crews unwilling to continue a fight that had suddenly lost its meaning. The war that had raged for centuries had been interrupted by a new perspective, humanity's perspective. In the aftermath, as the two fleets retreated to reconsider their positions, Earth stood victorious but scarred. Humanity had proven its worth, not as soldiers or pets or toys, but as a species with its own unique contribution to make to the galaxy. Zorvath approached Alex, who stood looking out at the stars from the command center of the resistance base. "You have surprised us all, Alex Rivera," Zorvath communicated, its burning eyes softer than Alex had ever seen them. That humanity is not ready to become Vrylocks, nor should it be. You have your own path to follow, your own destiny to fulfill. And the Axolarians? The Othar? Alex asked. They will return, Zorvath warned. War is all they have known for millennia, but today you have planted a seed of doubt in their consciousness. Given time, it may grow into something else. The Vrylocks will help us? Alex asked. Zorvath inclined its head. We will offer guidance, knowledge, but humanity must find its own way. That is the price of freedom. As Zorvath departed, leaving humanity to its own devices, Alex was joined by his friends, Jordan, Taylor, Morgan, and Riley. Together they looked out at the stars, no longer seeing them as alien territory, but as the next stage of humanity's journey. What now? Jordan asked, his voice filled with wonder rather than fear for the first time. Now, Alex replied, a smile spreading across his face. We explore, we learn, we grow, we show the galaxy what it means to be human. In the distance, Earth rotated on its axis, a blue marble in the vastness of space, no longer a habitat for pets or a factory for toys, but a home for a species that had faced extinction and chosen instead to become something new, something that was neither human nor alien nor anything in between, but a synthesis of all three. The Exolarians had thought humans were harmless pets. Humans had thought the Exolarians were toys to be played with and discarded. Both had been wrong. In the end, humanity had proven to be neither pets nor toys, but something far more dangerous and far more beautiful. They were human, and they were free.